So do you have what it takes to be in my team? You've got to have your FIFA game on point. Who's winning the tournament then?
I'm winning the tournament. I'm winning the tournament.
Come on.
Hi and welcome along to AFTV News Daily, the early edition. It is Sunday and we've only got about 10 days to go until the Premier League returns, when Arsenal are going to be taking on Manchester City. Of course, more games in the Bundesliga yesterday, and a lot of the players there showing a lot of solidarity towards George Floyd and the whole peace movement that has been taking hold right around the world. I mean, it's been absolutely everywhere. You saw protests in London yesterday, protests right around Europe, as well as massive protests, of course, in the States. And it's going to be really interesting to see, you know, from a football perspective, what this does with football. Does this help the cause, you know, and help us to crack down on racism even better in football? But that was great to see. And Jadon Sancho, who last week unveiled that shirt and, of course, got into trouble for it, that was later rescinded, of course, donning another shirt there yesterday saying no justice, no peace. There were Bayern Munich players. There were players right throughout the Bundesliga wearing those shirts or doing their own little thing in solidarity. And that was really, really nice to see. And some good games over there. I watched the Bayer Leverkusen Bayern Munich game. Bayern Munich, brilliant performance by them. They're now 2 wins away from winning the league, and done in the right way. Done in the right way. Winning it on the pitch. And I don't know what you guys thought if you did get a chance to watch that game. Bayer Leverkusen, they pumped noise into the ground, like crowd noise. And I was saying to Curtis on last night's show, for me, watching it from home, I kind of liked that. It was better than just the normal hollow, you know, mumblings of the players. You can hear the ball being kicked every time and stuff like that. It kind of enhanced the experience a little bit for me. I know they're talking about some of the games, them having it as an overlay that you can choose. But I like the fact that, you know, it just, I don't know, it created a little bit of atmosphere. It just made it a little bit more normal. But I don't know what you guys felt about that, because it was one of the things they've been talking about and a lot of people have sort of laughed it out of the place. But I found it all right. I don't know what you guys thought about it. Of course, the German league leading the way. And there was, I've read this really interesting story today about the French league. Now, remember the French league, they cancelled their league early. They, you know, from the end of April, they said, you know, that's it. We're cancelling the league. It's too dangerous. France actually now has really tackled this coronavirus pretty well. And a lot of things are starting to return back to normal over there. They're ahead of us. They've even got restaurants back open, bars. I mean, they've got regulations, but they're opening up quicker than we're opening up over here in the UK. Yet still, they shut down their league. And there's been a lot of very angry players over there, a lot of very angry owners, the Lyon owners threatening to sue. And I was reading a story today where they're speaking to UEFA about possibly restarting with some playoffs. Now, I'm not sure how it's going to work, or whether those playoffs are just for the teams that got relegated, or I don't know what the plan is there. But definitely it looks like over in France, they jumped the gun on the whole thing. They went early, panicked is what, you know, if you look what Angel Di Maria said, he goes, he felt that they panicked over there. And a lot of the players very unhappy. And why wouldn't they be when they see all the other leagues restarting? You've got La Liga about to restart next week. You've got Serie A coming back. The Turkish league's coming back. The Premier League's coming back. And that's why I was saying, I remember when I was having all these, I'm not trying to be wise after the event, but I remember when I was having all these arguments with DT on the podcast, and a lot, you know, people doing polls, and I was getting stick and stuff like that. And I said, listen, you can't make a decision based off of where we were then about now, what's going to happen in the future. Let's wait and see. Let's make plans. to see if we can resume it. And now you're seeing leagues resume. The Premier League yesterday carried out another round of tests. 1,195 tests they carried out. And not one person tested positive for the coronavirus. So they can resume with all these different measures, of course, and behind closed doors, they can resume it. The French league jumped the gun. And had we followed people like DT and some of these people that were saying this, we wouldn't have no football now. Now, remember, we don't know if it comes back, whether we could have more cases again. We don't know, but we've at least got to try and get it going. And I think that's what the Premier League are doing right. That's what obviously they've done in Germany. They're doing it in, as I said, in various other leagues. And I think it's the right move. And the next step has to be, how do we then get fans back into the stadium safely? Because obviously we don't want fans to return and next minute there to be a spike, but how do we get them back safely? But certainly the French league definitely looked like they made a mistake here with all these different leagues returning, and at the moment looking like they're returning safely. Now, of course, as I said, 10 days to go before Arsenal kick off that first game against Manchester City. And they played a friendly yesterday against Charlton at the Emirates Stadium, the empty Emirates Stadium. But the players looked really sharp yesterday. I know it's only Charlton. You know, I was mentioning it last night. People are like, don't get carried away, Robbie. It's only Charlton. I know. And it's only a friendly. And even though they won 6-0, you know, yes, we've got to be calm. It's not Man City, it's Charlton. And it's just like blowing off the cobwebs. But it's good that they looked that sharp. Great goal by Lacazette, an absolute screamer. If you haven't had a chance to see the goals yet, if you go onto Arsenal's YouTube channel, they've got all the goals on there. Lacazette scored an absolute screamer to get Arsenal off the mark. It's good to see him on the score sheet. Also, an excellent curling goal by Aubameyang, typical Aubameyang finish where he curled it into the top corner. And also great to see a couple of youngsters on the score sheet as well. Joe Willock with a goal, and he looked to play really well in the game. And also a hat-trick for Eddie Nketiah, a real poacher's hat-trick. A nice one-on-one goal in there as well. And he's getting in the right areas, Eddie Nketiah. And I think this bodes well for Arsenal in the running, because he's going to get used. The whole squad is going to get used a lot. We know there's going to be 5 substitutes. We know that, you know, we're going to really have to make use of our squad because there's so many games. Remember, when we come back, first game against Manchester City on the 17th, then 3 days later, we've got another game against Brighton. Then the following Thursday, another game. You know what I mean? So we're going to have to hit the ground running, and we're going to have to use the full extent of our squad. So it's good to see players like Eddie Nketiah stepping up. And as I said, we're not getting carried away because it's only a friendly, but it is really, really good to see. Other news coming out of Arsenal today on this scouting front. Now, we heard the other day that Arsenal had released a load of part-time scouts at the club. We now hear that they are getting rid of a couple of the ones that they have scouting across Europe. They haven't renewed some of their contracts. Again, you know, I suppose how they're looking on it, there's nothing to scout at the moment because there's no, you know, there's hardly any grassroots football going on. There's no under-23 football going on. So the story doesn't really have much substance to it. It just says that they're getting rid of scouts. It doesn't really have much detail. Now, is it that these scouts can, like the ones over here, that how I understood it over here in the UK, they can then reapply once football gets going again, or is that it? I don't know. But certainly Arsenal continuing to make cutbacks to staff at the club in the midst of this whole COVID-19 coronavirus pandemic that is going on. Now, Arsenal today taking a look again at Daniel Rajani of Juventus. Rajani has been on Arsenal's radar for a very long time now. He's a centre-back, of course, and we know that's a problem area for us at Arsenal. Now, Arsenal is said to be interested in him. Wolves are very interested in him as well. He can't get a game at the moment at Juventus. I mean, they're very, you know, they've got very good players in that area. And Maurizio Sarri, formerly of Chelsea, of course, is not really playing him at the moment at Juventus, and he's surplus to requirements. Wolves have said to have submitted a bid of around about £18 million for Rajani, but that's been turned down. Juventus apparently said to be looking for around about £25 million for him. He does have a contract until 2023, still quite young. So, you know, he's going to be sought after. There will be a lot of teams looking at him, but Arsenal said to be one of those teams interested in him. We're going to have to wait, of course, until we get to the get to the summer transfer window to see whether or not Arsenal may be moving for him. I don't know. I kind of look on it and think to myself, they've looked at him so many times, and it seems like he's not been quite right. And if they bring in Pablo Mari, I just can't see them bringing in Rajani. Going to be really interesting to him. Mari was playing yesterday. I'm really interested to see how he's going to get on once the season starts back. Will he start? You know, yesterday it looked like for some of the game they were playing Socrates in a right back role as well, which we've seen before and which I don't, you know, right, even playing him on the wings, been a bit of an odd one that I've seen Arteta experimenting with. But it's going to be really interesting to see what the first, you know, I can't wait for that game, that Man City game, to see what the starting lineup is going to be in that game. But certainly lots of competition up front after seeing yesterday's game. Right, let's get into some of your comments. This guy just says, sit there. We're coming. Right. Shantanu says, Arsenal firing scouts when they will need to bring in good players on the cheap is pure and peak Arsenal. Also, if those scouts are good, they will be immediately snapped up by other clubs. That is true. They could get snapped up by other clubs. The one thing I know is that they haven't sacked all their scouts. This story makes it seem that way, but they have a lot of permanent scouts as well. I think this is a lot more of the sort of part-time scouts that they've let go, the ones that would sort of go and scout around grassroots football and stuff like that. Now, there is no grassroots football at the moment, to be fair to Arsenal, for those scouts to go and scout at. So basically they're doing nothing, but I hope that they end up retaining the best scouts that they have, because good scouts are worth their weight in gold, trust me. Andrew Chow says, Rob, squad rotation is the key. There is no way the same team will play 2 games in a row. Also, managers will need to adapt and think well when using 5 subs. And that's going to be absolute key when we come back, because you're right. You're not going to have the same team probably playing 2 games in a row. YME says, just out of curiosity, why can a club fire scouts but not players? Getting rid of a couple of expensive players would be much more efficient to keep a club financially healthy than some scouts. Well, players have contracts, so you can't just fire them. I mean, if you can fire them, but you've got to pay them. So, you know, you could turn around and say to Mesut Ozil, actually, you're fired, we no longer need you, but you still got to pay him for all the money for the year of his contract that is left. So when a player is under contract, you still got to play him. A lot of these scouts that they've released have been part-time scouts. So then, you know, some of them are not even directly employed by the club. They're just part-time scouts that work for the club. So that's why it's a lot easier, unfortunately, for them to go. Ben Cook says, I can't wait for football to come back. Saying that all these protests, as good as they are a dreadful tragedy. They could cause issues with the spread of the virus. Some areas in England have an R rate over 1. Manchester had 15,000 people turn up. With Arsenal, I think they don't get any more players. The youth talents are getting used, so that are getting used, so that will help a lot. On your point there, obviously, you know, there's lots of marches going on. I was looking to go. I have to admit, I was looking to go on the march today in London. I can't, unfortunately, make it now. I know my brother's going on it, and there's different people are going on it now. They're all going to try and do their best, wear masks, stand 2 meters apart and adhere to all the rules. But you're right, it could cause a spike because you all of a sudden you've got a lot of people coming together, and hopefully it doesn't cause a spike. But certainly, when you see massive crowds like that coming together, it is a concern. But people feel so strongly on this that they're just saying, that's how strong I feel, that, even though I know that when I go out, I'm putting myself at risk, I still feel I need to go out and say something about what is going on. So let's see how it happens. And as you said, we don't want to see another spike. What I would say is amongst the footballers, the measures that they're taking, and remember, they're going to be playing behind closed doors, the measures that they're taking seem to be working because they've, as I said, 1,195 tests carried out, and not one person in the latest round of tests have tested positive. So that is a very, very good sign. Gavin says, Robbie, the season we bought Laka, he had 28 goals in the league and 3 assists. People getting gassed about Dembele and Edouard. Compare the stats. Keep Laka and Aubameyang. And certainly it was a brilliant goal yesterday by Lacazette. If you haven't had a chance to see it, have a look at that goal. It's absolutely fantastic. I know the opposition, right? But still, the technique and everything, it was a wonderful goal, and that can only do well for your confidence. Marcel Smith says, hi, Robbie. I, for one, am not surprised about these cuts. We have to remember that Arsenal charged the most out of the whole of the Premier League for tickets to games, meaning that we have lost more revenue than most. We have lost, I think they did a summary which said, as far as match day revenue is concerned, Arsenal hit the hardest with this, because the percentage of match day revenue that goes into their coffers is a bit higher than most other clubs. So it's hit hard. And as I've been saying all along, when it starts to hit hard, the people who lose their jobs are not the big guys up there or the players. It's those guys that are further down that pyramid at Arsenal. They're the first ones to go. That's why I've always been like, if it's safe, let's try and get football back on. And I know I've seen articles written about me saying, oh, Robbie's being greedy. How am I being greedy? It's not me going back to play. I'm just saying, and I said, it'd be the people in the armory, it'd be guys like these scouts and that go first. That's the unfortunate thing about how these things happen. So if it can be done safely, let's play. And at the moment, it's looking like it's going to be done safely. Let's just, pray that we have no further, big outbreaks from now until when the season comes back on the 17th. Ishmeet says, Don Robbie, Ainsley played in midfield and he looked good. That's right, he did play in the midfield area. Let's hope he gets used there. He did look good. So let's hope that Ainsley gets used in that area once the season starts. And certainly it does look like he's been training with the midfielders as well. He hasn't been training with the right back. So it does look like Mikel Arteta's plan is to play him in midfield and not to play him as a right back, which would be great because we get to see him in his right and proper position. Georgie1 for LCFC says, key workers' lives matter more right now. Of course, key workers have got to be the absolute essentials right now. But even there, we're seeing cases dropping for even the key workers. So, but listen, we've still got a long way to go. We've still got a long way to go with this thing. It's just about how do we get things open back as safely as we possibly can. That is what it comes down to, Georgie. Mohammed says, Liverpool fan here from Sydney. Just want to say that the channel lifted me through tough times. Thank you for being so informative on the Premier League. Big love to you, bro. Thank you very much, Mohammed. And good luck to you. In a couple of weeks' time, you'll be happy enough, innit, when Liverpool win the league, and in the right and proper way. In the right and proper way. which is on the pitch. I mean, as I said, look at France now, where the players, Di Maria, you know, really disappointed with the season ending early, even though PSG won the league. He's not happy about it, you know. He thinks it's very unsatisfactory, and there's a lot of disgruntled players over there in France. This could have an effect on the French league for many, many a year, because basically the credibility of the league has gone down, because it is like they should have been a bit more cautious. I can kind of understand it, because it was the government who was saying there's going to be no major sporting events till September. But now over there in France, they're opening back bars, and they're ahead of us. If you look at France, they've had less deaths than us, less cases, and they're ahead of us in opening back the country. So it does look like maybe they jumped the gun on on the measures that they took. Arv says, Robbie, last night I saw a lot rating Ziyech over Pepe. I saw that. He says, remember Di Maria. Ziyech has a similar physique and playing style as Di Maria, and look how it turned out. As I said, Ziyech, and I was arguing with some Chelsea fans last night on the show, Ziyech, as I said to them, fantastic signing. It is a great signing for Chelsea, no doubt. I ain't going to hate on that. But for them to just be coming out and saying, oh, he's better than Pepe, and I'm sorry. Let's wait and see how he gets on when he comes to the Premier League, because the Premier League is not Holland. As we've seen this happen with a lot of players, and as somebody pointed out last night, I think it was Curtis actually, said, remember Memphis Depay, how well he did in Holland. And when he come to United as well, he had a really tough time. So let's wait and see. You know, Pepe's found it difficult coming into the Premier League. Sometimes it will take you a while to get going. Calvin says, I enjoy watching Arteta's interviews. He seems like an intelligent man with a clear plan for the future of Arsenal. I just hope management can support him with the right players to execute those plans. Here. Cannot agree with you more. You know, can't agree with you more, Calvin. He needs to be backed up. Ashatouche says, hello, Robbie. I heard that we have 200 million in reserve, so we can use some of those money in transfers. Yeah, is that right? Because this is a time to use the money we saved during the pandemic if we want to challenge for the title. Now, I don't know where you heard that. 200 million. I very much, well, if they do have 200 million, that is not going to be used on players. Winfrey Tom says, can the French league reverse their decision, or is it too late? Well, that's, you know, the story I read was a bit conflicted. It was just talking about how they might do some playoffs, but playoffs for what? I didn't understand it. I think it would be too late to reverse that decision. They've already made, you know, PSG the champions. They've relegated teams. I would have thought it'd be too late. You know, it would then bring in more legal problems, I suppose, if they try and reverse it. But who knows? Certainly, as I said, there must be a lot of very embarrassed people who run French football right now when they see all the other leagues returning, and for the large part of it so far, it's been done safe. Of course, it's behind closed doors. It's not ideal, but it must be very, very embarrassing for them at the moment. Ben Parsons says, Robbie, this lockdown will benefit us. We have a big squad, and this will disadvantage clubs like Sheffield. I've sort of said that before. You look at a club like Sheffield United, have been having an amazing season. They've been really, really good. However, they have quite a small squad, and they use more or less the same team every week. That starting 11, more or less, that's what they use week in, week out, one game a week. All of a sudden now, it's going to be like what we have to face when we're doing European football, which is why we've got a big squad, and a lot of the other teams in Europe, they have to have big squads because they're playing European football, right? So the big teams have got big squads which they've been using throughout the season. Now teams like Sheffield United are going to have to rotate a lot. Is their squad deep enough to do that? What if they get a couple of injuries? It definitely puts teams like Sheffield United at a disadvantage, and they've lost their home support, which is brilliant. I mean, I was at Bramall Lane when they beat us 1-0. They had an amazing support on that night. They've lost that advantage as well. You've got to feel a little bit sorry for them. But then, with their manager, which I really rate their manager, Wilder, he'll be saying to his players, listen, don't feel sorry for yourself. Go out there and get us into the top 4 or top 6. Let's get European football. So, but I think it's gonna definitely impact those type of teams. Sammy says, Robbie, I just subscribed. Well done, mate. Yay. Well done. But respect for that, Sammy. Keep it locked here on AFTV. We got some great stuff coming up when the games resume. Trust me on that. Bradsky James says we won't be signing anyone. The players and executive team have taken pay cuts. Pretty disheartening. What good are Edu and Raul if they have their hands tied? Stan and his son Josh. I don't think we won't sign anyone. I do think we will sign players. But it's going to be loan deals. It's going to be juggling. I mean, and hustling. That's what it's going to be. We won't make, I don't think, any mega signings unless we sell. That's how I think it is. But I do think we will buy. Daniel Chambers says, hi, Robbie. We shouldn't go after Rajani. Why not look at centre-backs in the Premier League? And we should not sign Mari on a permanent deal. Not good enough. Well, how can you, hold on, Daniel. Have you seen enough of him yet? With me, I'm keeping it open on Mari because, I've not seen, he's only played one game that I've seen him playing in the Premier League. So until I see more of him, I'm not going to pass any judgment on him, So, let's wait and see. Rajani, I've kind of agree with you. I just think that, so many clubs have looked at him and they haven't really gone with him. Is he the real deal? But Mari, I want to see first what he does. And again, it'd be quite a cheap deal for Arsenal if he is good. Anmol says, is Kroenke confused and injecting money in the wrong club in London, Chelsea? Well, certainly not injecting money. Anyway, he injected money into us, so we injected money into Chelsea. So no is the answer to that. Dawa RY says, I remember Chelsea fans saying Morata was better than Lacazette. Fools, he said. I remember that. You're right. They were saying that. It's a great signing for Chelsea. You can't hate on it. Ziyech, if they get Werner, great signings. Great signings. You can't argue with it. But let's wait and see, Chelsea fans. Jan Hay says Chelsea already looks contenders for the Premier League title for next season. And I think loser fools, bloody hell, decline will start from next season because they don't upgrade their team as Chelsea, City, Bayern, Real, Barca and PSG does. Well, listen, they didn't really upgrade their team last season, Yane, and they're going to win the league by over 25 points, which means that decision was completely justified by Liverpool. They're the team that's getting it right. They're a team. They're a unit. Listen, you can't hate on Liverpool right now. They've embarrassed the whole league. They're winning it easily. So it's all right buying all these players, but they look on it and they thought to themselves, we don't really need to buy anyone. We've already got the best team. Fair play to them, man. It's true. And it's happened. Look at one of the biggest leads of any team, or the biggest lead in Europe, Liverpool. Ella says, hi, Dandada. We got the Dandada. Respect from Yard, i.e. Jamaica. I know that. He says, how ready do you think we are for the game against City? Well, listen, we looked sharp yesterday. I've got to say, Arsenal looked sharp. It's Charlton, though. It's Charlton. They're just returning back as well. We've probably been training for longer than them. We've got better facilities for them to train with. We can't get carried away with what we saw there, because it's just Charlton. But we look sharp, and that's a good sign. It's good to see that we looked sharp. So let's hope that we can take that into the City game. But the thing is, City will be sharp as well because they're managed by Pep Guardiola. We know that he's famously good for his preparation. He leaves no stone unturned. So it's going to be a different proposition completely. But just going off what we've seen so far, looks sharp. and that's all we can do right now. Chris says, hi Robbie, is there somewhere I can watch the full Charlton game? Well, it depends where you are, but they'll be showing it on Sky. Oh, the Charlton game, sorry, you can watch it on YouTube. That's where I saw it. It was on Arsenal's YouTube channel. John says, have you heard of Grace McCulloch? Might become chairman. No, I haven't. And what's the chairman even going to do right now? You know, that's the other thing. What is the chairman, you know, because Sir Chips was there. Sir Chips Keswick. What, like DT said, what did he do? Is there, you know, do we even need a chairman? You know? KJ says, big support from Sweden. Love your channel, Robbie. It would benefit Arsenal to sell Ozil and Mustafi and send back Cedric and Ceballos, getting players like Havertz, yeah, Koulibaly and Sandro Tonali. It would benefit us a lot to do that, but that is very, very, I mean, Havertz alone. I don't think we get Havertz right now unless we had, the only way you'd be able to attempt Kai Havertz at Arsenal would be you'd have to have a big budget and show him that we could be really, really ambitious right now. We'd have to be back in the Champions League as well to get a player like that and then promise him that he'd be playing week in, week out. Very unlikely that we could get a Havertz and Koulibaly, to be fair. Vivian says, hey, Robbie, I think the board should tell Kroenke to sell the club and the richest man in Africa should buy us and Arteta can invest in the team. Yeah, that'd be great, but it's not going to happen by the looks of it. Bejarano says, Robbie, hey, Robbie, what are your plans for the Premier League games? Will you interview fans after the games? Love your vids, man. We're going to be rolling it out next weekend, so you'll see what we're going to be up to. We'll be interviewing more fans than ever. That's the one thing I can tell you. So look out for that. I'm going to get so many people involved. Kieran says, Robbie, would you keep or sell Xhaka? Could he be like our Henderson, who has been at Liverpool for a long time and despite facing tough times is now going to win the league with them? Well, that would be a perfect scenario. Xhaka has to step up. You know, Jordan Henderson, not only is he, you know, took a load of stick in the early days, but he stepped up to the plate as a leader. He stepped up to the plate with his performances as well. And I think Xhaka should take that as an example. He started off well under Arteta. He needs to keep that going consistently. And, you know, that is a good model for him to look at a player like Henderson and how he's bounced back from adversity. So if I was Xhaka, I would be looking at somebody like Jordan Henderson. Justiniano says, big up Robbie from Italy. After watching the team yesterday, we're definitely going in the top four. Justiniano, we can't get carried away, right? Because it was just a friendly against Charlton. So, you know, we got to chill, but it was encouraging to see a 6-0 win. Aditya says, hey, Liverpool fan from India, I feel Arsenal make really poor decisions in transfers. I was in tears when Coutinho and Suarez left. Get Zaha and Partey, they're ready to come. I think the Zaha one now, you know, is too late now. We've already got Nicolas Pepe there. There is, you know, and I always like Zaha, but I don't think we need Zaha now. It'd be a very expensive deal to get done. The Partey one would be a very good signing. It would be very, very positive. Babacar says, Robbie, what about Saliba? Why can't he train with the squad right now? He's not able to play from now till the end of the season. He won't be able to play until the following season. AM says, Robbie, we need to start Martinelli every game. Otherwise, his ability will be a waste. Well, I don't agree. I think, you know, he's still a developing player. He's a really exciting player. He's a really talented player. Let him grow into the position so that when he starts starting every week, he's there every week. But let's not rush him too quick. King of Ape says, the decision to stop League One was fueled by clubs which it suited well. They pressured the government, and sadly, it may be too late now. And I certainly, I just feel that was a big mistake over there in France. And I think they're seeing that now. They're seeing that it was a big mistake, and a mistake that is, to me, is too late to reverse now. Gonna do the last couple. Issa says, "Hey Robbie, I'm a fan from Slough, UK. Pepe needs to play more. Definitely, he was playing yesterday." Jay says, "Hey Robbie, I think that Kroenke will invest some money now because his LA Rams stadium is done. I have hopes. Love from India. I hope you're right." And let me get one more. Milk says, "Can we finish above Tottenham?" The answer is yes. We're 1 point behind them. They're strengthened now, Tottenham, because obviously, you know, they've got players back. So, you know, Harry Kane's back, Son's back. That puts them in a stronger position. But wouldn't it be brilliant if we could win our first game against City? I mean, it's a real big ask. But a win like that would give us so much momentum. It'd be unbelievable. So let's see what we can do. Let's see if we can carry that momentum that we've just seen from that first win through to that game. And you never know where that could take us. Thanks for watching the show. We're going to be back tonight with the Q&A. So make sure you check that out. The Sunday night lockdown Q&A. Ask me whatever you want tonight. But thanks and have yourself a great day.